the relationship that you have with Google is inherently adversarial, where it is not necessarily adversarial with Meta. And the reason it's adversarial with Google is because Google is a monopoly and they don't really have a direct impact on search query volume, right? Like the amount of people who are going to search for tennis shoes in any given month is relatively set, right? Like they can't really impact that. And so brand is like this stereotypical example. And we see it with brands of all sizes, even from, 7-figure brands to 10-figure brands. You go into their Google Ads account and it's very rare that brand and non-brand is truly fully segmented apart. And it has to be. YouTube today is kind of like Meta in 2015, where, you do the 1% lookalike audience, right? Like we on this call all old enough to remember the old lookalike audience stacks and things like that. So you do have to do audience targeting there, but that's kind of like the lowest form of YouTube advertising.
And now, let's take a listen to the Scalability School podcast. All right, welcome to another episode of Scalability School. Incredible guest today, longtime friend of the podcast, longtime friend of mine, and somebody who I deeply respect and love, Collin Slattery, the Google Ads expert of D2C Twitter, I would say, right? I mean, can we name you that? What do we think about that?
I'll take it. It's a moniker I'll happily wear for sure.
The person that people are willing to fight with about Google Ads on the internet.
Whether they are actually employed by Google or not.
Yeah, exactly. Who actually is smart and can respond back to them. Collin, so glad to have you. Collin's been an expert in the founders community on Google Ads for a really long time. And then a couple years ago, hired the best in the game, Phil Keel, previous Scalability School guest, now has an absolute empire that is being built at Taikun Digital. So we're stoked for you about that. Good job.
Thanks. And thanks for having me on. Excited to chat Google, excited to hopefully dispel some myths and share a little bit of knowledge in the process.
Google is kind of like the ugly stepchild of D2C Twitter. Like people don't want to talk about it. It seems like you're one of the few people that want to talk about it. And I feel like it needs to be talked about more because I personally have a ton of questions because I'm curious how you think through it. I know you have strong opinions, which is good because I don't think enough people have strong enough opinions that are also thoughtful, and you have both. You have both, so I'm excited to dig in. I feel like there's a whole other episode at some point. We just talk about everything that you're building agency wise. Maybe we got to get Phil and the gang back together and just talk about
get
that.
Jake on here too, yeah,
might as well. Yeah, Jake, the ad nerd, the OG. He's in the game now too. Yeah, we'll have to get the whole crew on. But excited to jam Google today.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, and excited to dive in. Maybe some hot takes or lukewarm takes. Anyway,
well, we can kick it off with the nice original, great starting point. I thought it'd be interesting too. I know Zach. I was looking back on this tweet from like almost a year. It's almost a year ago now. It was actually June of last year. It feels like it was just yesterday that Zach was shitting on all Google Ads agencies. But I thought this was a good starting point. And so Zach's tweet, I'll probably summarize this, but Zach kind of started by saying, if you're a D2C brand paying your Google Ads agency more than $10K a month, you are very likely getting robbed. Zach is known to take strong positions, usually with good reason, but sometimes he has strong takes. And so we don't have to spend a bunch of time dispelling this, but just curious if you have a kind of quick take on your feeling of, I guess, maybe the average Google ad agency and what you guys do differently that helps set you apart.
Well, obviously, I think that's bullshit, and I said as much around that time, and the engagement was fun. And I know Zach loves to throw bombs out there and then turn around and walk away. But yeah, no, I mean, that's clearly not true, right? And I actually would say that Google in particular is one of the places where investment in top quality talent is even more paramount because of the difficulty and the number of dark patterns that exist in the platform. This gets to a foundational concept around the differences between Google and Meta. And one of those is that the relationship that you have with Google is inherently adversarial, where it is not necessarily adversarial with Meta. And the reason it's adversarial with Google is because Google is a monopoly and they don't really have a direct impact on search query volume, right? Like the amount of people who are going to search for tennis shoes in any given month is relatively set, right? Like they can't really impact that. And they already have the full market. They can't get any more market share. And so the only thing that they can do, and speaking primarily around search and shopping and things like that, is increase the amount of money that they get paid for the queries that already exist. That's the only lever that they have to pull to increase how much money they make. They're a publicly traded company. They're in the business of making money, right? And when they are increasing the costs, that is borne by the advertiser. Meta, on the other hand, has the ability to impact their inventory in a way that Google does not, right? They can increase the frequency of ads in Reels or your feed. They can make the product more addictive so people scroll deeper so they can be exposed to more ads, right? And so fundamentally, Google is not playing nicely with advertisers because it is in their best interest to take money from advertisers. And so if you have someone who doesn't know what they're doing and doesn't know Google's dark patterns, it is very easy for Google to be an absolute waste of money because that's good for them, right? Because they need to make money. So if you don't have someone who's excellent, and admittedly, there are not that many excellent people out there, it's going to be a non-incremental waste fest. And I think that's what most people run into because they're working with people who don't know how to do it, or they're working with people who are Meta first, and the rules between Meta and Google are completely different. And then they're like, oh, Google's trash, and everyone who does Google is trash, and screw this.
I'm known for taking notes, and the first thing I wrote down is Zach equals skill issue. So that's what I heard from section number 1 here is
It
Zach,
is in
Zach just
fact
has
a skill
issue.
issue, 100%.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Well, we'll have to. Well, I'm sure Zach will hear this, and we'll remind him. But that segues nicely into like, okay, so then what do we need to what can brands that are listening to this do and take away to actually start to make Google a channel that is effective for them? Because I think a lot of people will. I mean, the average client that we work with has Google, and there's brand set up in some capacity. Whether or not it's incremental, there's a bunch of questions around that.
It's
And
not.
yeah, right. And you mentioned there's probably different things to consider, certainly across industries and how you should consider across industries, but even account spend and size. And so I think if you could just start to kind of take people through like what does the actual account setup and structure look like? How does it change as you scale? I think that could be a really interesting starting point to just kick off, where people can start to get some tactical takeaways.
Yeah, and I think this gets back to the size and complexity of Google, which is it's a materially more complex platform than Meta is. There's a lot more stuff going on, and there's a lot of stuff going on that is beneficial to Google but detrimental to the advertiser. And I think if people are looking to succeed on Google, I think that is a mindset shift that needs to happen where when you are in there, the everything you look at, you need to think this is set up in order to benefit Google and not benefit me. So you should be very skeptical of anything that Google recommends, right? And we're kind of that way with Meta when they're like, auto apply all of these AI enhancements and shit like that. But those are much more visible in Meta than they are in Google. And so you absolutely have to be approaching it with that mindset and trying to make it harder for Google to succeed. Um, and so brand is like this stereotypical example. And we see it with brands of all sizes, even from, 7-figure brands to 10-figure brands. You go into their Google Ads account, and it's very rare that brand and non-brand is truly fully segmented apart. And it has to be, because if you say, I want a 5x, right, ROAS in platform, and you put brand in there, right, that's going to generate a 20x. And then Google's like, cool, we got a 20, we banked the 20x here. That means we can waste money on stuff that doesn't perform. It'll average out to a 5, and the advertiser's happy because it says a 5, but they haven't dug that layer below and seen all those conversions are happening to brand. 80% of the budget is 10% of the conversion value, and 10% of the budget is 90% of the conversion value. And blended, it looks great. They run a holdout test on it. Like, hey, this is not incremental at all. Like, we chopped our Google and nothing happened. It's like, well, yeah, of course. It's because your brand and non-brand are blended together. And so if there is one thing that people take away, get them split apart completely, right? And split in search. So negative it out in all your non-brands. If you want to run it, put in its own manual CPC search campaign, but you have to do it on shopping too, right? Like shopping inventory serves against brand queries. And so if you're not segmenting out branded queries and shopping, if you don't have a branded shopping campaign, all that's going to roll into your PMAX, is going to roll into your regular shopping. And it's going to be the same problem that you would have with search as just in shopping. That is, I think, the biggest problem and also the easiest problem to fix.
Is that a one-time thing? Or do you have to check it regularly because Google's trying to jam brand back into things or brand adjacent things?
So if you do a good job with your negative keyword list, you're going to get 99% of it out. It's not going to cover all misspellings. And so it does make sense to once in a while go through and negative out the misspellings. When you launch new campaigns, you do need to apply the negative keyword list to the campaign, but it's mostly a one-time 30 minutes max sort of activity.
So there's a lot of brands. Brad was saying there's a lot of small brands or smaller brands that listen to this podcast, and I think have always wanted to test Google, and I think people get excited about brand. They get excited about launching Google, and they get excited about launching YouTube ads as well. So when you're looking at those brands that you've worked with in the last, let's just say 12 months, because I know it changes over time, what are they doing? What's the mix of brand, non-brand? Are they doing shopping? Are they doing YouTube? What does that mix look like? And what are the things that you've seen be truly incremental to their results and their growth?
I'm going to say something, and maybe this is my first hot take, even though it's not a hot take because it's driven by data. But Google and YouTube done well are the most incremental advertising that any brand will ever have, period, full stop, done. We've done this with 9-figure brands where 87% of the traffic coming from YouTube is net new to the brands, whereas Meta is sitting around like 60, 62%. Right? Google and YouTube are so incremental and expose so many people to traffic that is nowhere else. There are 34 million Americans that are not on Meta properties, are not on TikTok, are not in any other digital properties but YouTube. Literally the only place you can reach these 34 million people are on YouTube. Totally net new, do not exist anywhere else. They're only on YouTube, and you can reach them there, right? And that's just the people that aren't anywhere else, right? It's not even counting the people that you don't reach because they're not in a conversion-focused audience in Meta or anything like that. So massively, 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 massively incremental. It's just set up poorly most of the time. Now, to kind of like loop back, and it's like, okay, well, how do you make Google incremental? Well, one is it's get brand and non-brand separated, right? And then what you're doing is different based on the scale of the brand and where your budget allocation is. The first thing I'd say is like, don't run brand at all. Like negative it out and then don't have it running, period. And I think Zach will probably agree with me on that, right? It's generally a waste of money. And it's one of the very first holdout tests that we run with any client that comes on, whether it's Meta and Google or just Google only, is like, let's test brand, like see if it's incremental, because it's usually not. And it's something you can just turn off, which is great, right? If you can allocate that budget to things, put it into YouTube shorts instead. Like what a better way to do it. So if you can get away with not running brand, don't run brand. And then the structure is like, it's going to be pretty consistent, but the budget allocations will be different. So non-brand shopping or like a non-brand shopping PMAX, right? Non-brand search. And then if you are running brand search, brand shopping, and then some degree of demand gen shorts as kind of like the third component of that. So, we're looking at 3 to 5 campaigns as kind of like the default structure.
When do you so then okay, so that's for everybody. So what does scaling it out look like? Is it horizontally adding more campaigns by product category? Is it just scaling it up by cranking budgets and sending it to the moon? Obviously, YouTube is probably handled fairly differently because there's a creative component to it, whether that's shorts or just general YouTube placements. So you can pick either side. Maybe Google is the place to start, and then work over to YouTube. But like, what is actually what does it look like to start scaling up the Google side?
Yeah. So I think the easiest scale to unlock is shopping, right? It's the shopping inventory. And it's easy, but it's not simple because what dictates how shopping works is really the structured data that you're giving Google, right? So it's the quality of your product feed, it's the descriptions, it's the images, it's the secondary images, the color data, the size data. It's how optimized your titles are, right? It's making sure that there aren't price mismatches or any other issues that are impacting the quality of the data that is being fed to Google, because that's how Google decides. Oh, this is a blue sneaker, right? It's well, you have to give them all that data, and so if someone searches for blue sneaker, right, you want to show up for that, and so the only way you're going to show up is if you have good, clean data. And reviews are another huge component of that. People are going to go, they're going to search for blue sneakers. What's going to get surfaced and what's going to get clicked on? Stuff that has good data so that Google knows that's what you're selling. And then things that have a lot of reviews because that's a trust signal and people are going to click on it. And so feeding Google good data is going to impact how much shopping volume you're going to be able to acquire. And then there are other parts that obviously brands can't control. So like if you the larger your SKU library, the greater the surface area you can cover. And so generally the higher the scale that you can conceivably get. Similarly to that, the better your business economics are, right? If you think about search impression share like a pie, or 100% of search impression share, like no business is going to be able to economically monetize 100% of search impression share. But if your economics are not so good, right? If your revenue per session is generally pretty low or your margins are pretty low, like the percentage of the search impressions where you can profitably target it, it's going to shrink. And so um, your business metrics also like dictate kind of the scale that you can achieve on shopping as well. But there's a ton of scale in shopping. Like,
Friends, quick break. This episode of Scalability School is brought to you by Northbeam Incrementality, which honestly is so awesome. Let me just tell you a little bit about it. If you're a marketer, you probably agree incrementality testing is broken. It's insane. You got to do all this crazy stuff. But with Northbeam, you do it right in the platform. It builds tests using your own MTA data, launches them directly in the ad platform, and automatically monitors them throughout the test. And if something threatens validity, you're alerted to it within Northbeam before it ruins the results. The really nice thing is it solves all these problems you hear about incrementality testing all the time, like labor, spreadsheets, statistical reference. Designing tests is normally so slow, right, and error prone. So with Northbeam incrementality, it's automated and accurate, and your team is able to spend with confidence. Give it a shot with Northbeam incrementality. Really, the future of incrementality is here, and Northbeam has figured out a way to make it easy. So, I mean, it's interesting, I've never heard somebody give the case for shopping that heavily. So that's interesting. I think you've had this thing called hidden search terms, and you have a framework of Google inventory, which is premium, mid-tier, and garbage. And that's what this is, taken from your words. So talk about hidden search terms and the research around this, and what things folks can do to bring some of these search terms out that maybe they weren't, aware of or familiar with in terms of targeting.
and this is again, this gets to the whole, there's additional layers underneath Google that when you just look at it, it's painting a very small picture of what's actually going on. So keywords and search terms are not even remotely the same thing, right? It's like, oh, well, I'm targeting blue shoes. Like, that's the keyword that I'm targeting. That's what I'm bidding against. It's like, no, that can match to hundreds of different search queries that are somewhat related to completely unrelated, depending on your match type, right? And so those are the search terms that surface so those are the things. Search terms are what people are actually typing into Google to find, and then your ad is serving against, right? And Google, up until I think it was probably 2020, 2021, I can't remember the exact year. At this point, it was a while ago. They used to show 95% of all of the terms that people typed in that surfaced your ad. So you'd have 95% visibility, 90 to 95% visibility in everything that people search for that your ad served against. And for privacy reasons, they decided to hide a huge percentage of the search terms that people searched for that your ad served against. And they lump them together in what is known as other search terms, which you can't see what they searched for. You can only see a single line of the aggregated performance of what is hidden. And that's a problem, right? Like you're paying for it. You should know what people are searching. And the performance of the stuff that is hidden is generally worse than what is visible. Um, and that's because, in my estimation, right, it behooves Google to hide the stuff that people would try to exclude if it's not related, right? If my keyword is blue shoes, and the matching is blue tablecloth, like that's not related, right? But you can get matches that are that far away. It's actually pretty shocking how not close search terms can be to the keyword that triggered them. And now that they can hide those, it's easier for you to keep bidding on them, as opposed to historically, turn them into negatives and remove them.
Yeah, you'd put together like a pretty gnarly report, like actually digging into this. Do you have any of the numbers like handy out of the top of your head that you can just like rip off, or is that a little bit too specific?
I mean, do you want? I have the report somewhere, probably.
Pull it up. Yeah, if it's not a huge pain to pull up, I'd be super curious to dig into that. Because I remember reading it, and I'm pretty sure that what Ginny responded to.
So, and I do want to note this is only for search campaigns and shopping campaigns where you have full search query report data available. But we looked at around $20 million in ad spend in search and shopping spend, and found that for every dollar of ad spend that you are running through Google, they're skimming almost a full dollar off of your efficiency with hidden search terms. So um, if you were to spend $1 million on ads and everything was visible, you would generate about $5.6 million in revenue. In reality, you're only generating about $4.75 million in revenue. And that $850,000 shortfall is due to the inefficiency of hidden search terms. Yeah. So you're looking at like 5.6x ROAS for visible versus a 4.75 for full blend, including hidden.
Like worst case scenario, historically, before this change, you could just exclude them and okay, I've excluded them, I'm not wasting money on them. And now it's just being lumped in there. And so what you're saying is best case scenario, you can actually exclude them, and then the additional spend you'd be able to continue. You're spending that money anyways, so it's going to be spent at that more efficient return number. Am I understanding that correctly?
Well, I mean, you can't get rid of the stuff that's hidden, right? Like
For sure.
stuff is always going to be hidden, and it is a game of whack-a-mole to consistently exclude things to try and pull up efficiency numbers. You can aggregate data through what's known as n-gram analysis to pull stuff out of hidden, like, and exclude stuff that would otherwise be lumped into hidden search terms. Generally, hidden search terms are stuff that Google categorizes as like low volume, right? So it's not getting a lot of volume against those queries. And so those are generally going to be longer tail search queries. And by longer tail, I mean more words in the query. And so you can aggregate what is visible and find terms that are low performing. And when you exclude those, it will also generally pull out stuff that was hidden that also included that term that is not effective. Not usually going to get like a lower percentage of hidden, but you can reduce the inefficiency overall by going through and pulling stuff out.
Cool. Personally, I'm very interested in like the actual like tactical levers of, okay, we can dig into shopping. Andrew, if you're cool with going down that route, I'm just gonna start ripping some questions. And
Absolutely,
Colin,
yeah.
feel free to take it wherever direction you want to. So you mentioned you've kind of got like 4 to 5 campaigns that are standard. I think we'll ignore the brand side of this completely for now because I think your basic TLDR is like turn it off or highly limit the spend that's going into it at all if you're going to spend into it, and just be thoughtful around that. So then
If
you
you're
said
in a
shopping.
vertical where you need to spend on brand, you'll know because
Sure.
it's the exception.
Fair.
Yeah.
Cool. That'll be maybe worth coming back to that because that's interesting. But then shopping is where you're seeing the majority of the volume. You said every brand could spend 6 figures. Like is kind of like a take. So as people are thinking about setting up shopping, you said the biggest lever is kind of just like the inputs to Google, which is functionally the feed and maybe some offshoots of that. So what are brands doing wrong when they set up their shopping? You mentioned okay the title and the actual data is not set up properly. So like let's say that they are starting to chip away at updating that and maybe they're 80% of what you call like this is a good input. The feed is solid. What's still missing? And then if they wanted to increase spend volume through shopping, like what are they actually doing?
This is actually, I should say, is one of the biggest challenges with Google is because everything is different depending on small changes in a brand, right? Like if you have 10,000 SKUs, like your approach is going to be completely different than if you have 50 or 100 SKUs or 10 SKUs, right? And so the feed is table stakes, right? And having that fully optimized. And I will say, like, most people just connect their Shopify feed to Google Merchant Center and they're like, oh, done, right? Like, no. And if that is you, like, go get Data Feed Watch. It's not that expensive. It's going to allow you to really optimize your Google Fields, which is super important. And we're going to assume that you have reviews piping in because that's also very important. Shopping from a structural level, and I think Google in general, and this is something that we've seen time and time again on search, on shopping, absolutely on YouTube. Google is not nearly as efficient a budget allocator as Meta. And so many people come from the Meta space where it's like, trust Meta, they know what they're doing, go broad, like drop it all together, right? You cannot do that with Google. You're going to have a bad time if you're doing that with Google. And that extends to shopping as well. And then you need segmentation and you need thoughtful segmentation in order to unlock volume. What this segmentation looks like is really dependent on number of SKUs and business priorities. Like if you're, you know, uh, a retailer and you carry 100 brands, like your shopping structure is going to look materially different than if you're, a supplement company. If you got 20 SKUs.
Just try the example though, Colin, of like, let's say that it is this lower amount of SKUs, 20 SKUs. Like, how are they structured? Are they structured based on which one's driving the most the best revenue for you with the best gross margin, or like how do you start to structure that?
I think the initial structuring that you're going to want to do, and again, this is a phase one, is you have one campaign and you have ad groups in the shopping campaign that are segmented either by a category, or if you have really like very few products, you can even segment them individually, right? So you're a supplement company, you have, supplements for digestion and supplements for sleep, right? Like you can break them up into those individual categories and then, make sure that you have negative keywords at the ad group level to make sure that you're routing queries to the correct ad groups. So that's kind of like we're just getting started structure. And then once you have that running, you're going to start to see, okay, this product is potentially working really well and like performing really well. maybe that's something where you actually can, and we've done this, like we'll have a shopping campaign with just a single product in it so that it's not competing for budget with the other products in that campaign. It's not super common where we'll fully pull out an individual product, but it'll happen over time, breaking the campaigns apart based on by performance and like bucket them together really into like four main structures, which are like high spend, high performing, low spend, uh, just low performing, and then like no spend, right? And so, you don't want like your top 10% of SKUs to be competing for budget with the 80% of SKUs that get 2% of the total clicks, right? It's historically called the heroes, sidekicks, villains, and zombies, right? Is kind of the four monikers for the different structures, and you break them all apart. And SKUs can shift in between the different campaigns, but the reasoning behind that is Google's budget allocation is not incredibly efficient. And if you're lumping them together, you're just leaving money on the table. But the first segmentation starts in an individual campaign at kind of the ad group level by grouping products separately.
And does grouping the products on its own give, to your point, because it helps Google sort out delivery a bit better because you're inserting kind of an opinion into how that should be structured. Does that alone add more volume, or is it, hey, we need to split these things up and then we go edit product titles to have more, are we trying to increase the search volume by getting more keywords? Like I'm like very tactical as somebody who's not running Google accounts. Like, so you're segmenting those things, but like what else is the team doing on a weekly basis to try and drive more volume?
Yeah. So, I mean, you're also removing inefficient search terms, right? So that's just an ongoing negative keyword application is an ongoing piece of work in Google on shopping, on search, everywhere. Product optimization, title testing, that is also a key component of it because again, like you operate under the understanding that there is a finite amount of search volume for whatever it is that you're doing, right? And when you find things that work, you want to be getting as high a click share as you possibly can. So optimizing to try and maximize your click share. Generally, like it's through titles, it's through more reviews, price, obviously, also a component to it. Using promotional things, promos to get the sort of slash through and like sale tags and things like that. And then adjusting targeting, right? And that's one of the added benefits there too, is like if you have things broken up, you can have a specific target for, mascara, whereas blush has a completely different target and you can control those efficiency targets individually. Yeah.
What role do images play in shopping? Like, are you guys testing images consistently, or is it not a big lever?
Generally, like pretty strict limitations around images in Google, rules around like not having texts on the images, like not putting promotional information on images in the feed. So most things do default to white box. You can include lifestyle images as well. There are fields for lifestyle images that always worth doing. Basically, and this is another general rule. If there's an optional field that you can use, it's not optional. Just use it, right? Like the more optional things you include, the better your feed score is going to be in Google's estimation and the more opportunity you have to surface. So there's not a ton that you can do from an image standpoint in terms of testing. You can do a little bit, but it's tough. We've had clients where their product is in a box and the box has text on it and they'll reject the image because of the amount of text that's on the box.
I hate how this is phrased, but it's kind of phrased this way intentionally. But like, is there anything hacky in shopping that you can do that like consistently works? Or like, like there's this theme on Meta for a while where everybody did the "we're sorry" kind of ad in that positioning. Like there's a format that pops up that you can just like run that playbook across brands and it works very consistently. Is there any comparable on the Google side, whether it's like hacky feeling? Maybe it's specific to shopping, maybe not.
Not really. And I would say that in general, like it's not how we like to approach advertising. Whatever arbitrage exists, I mean, you're opening yourself up to potential issues down the road. Like there was a time where you could like get promo text onto images by making it less obvious and tricking the sort of machine to think it wasn't there, even though it clearly was. And you're just going to get your feed suspended and you're going to have to redo all the work. So, I generally operate on the do things the right way principle, and you're going to be in good shape. And
Brad's always trying to hack an idea,
Look, I'm just, you never know what exists, man.
I'm the anti-hack guy. I'm the let's do it by the book and always be on the right side.
Look, I also lean that direction, but sometimes people like a little sauce every once in a while. So I
Do
just
not
try to
invite the
sprinkle it.
eye of Sauron.
That's fair.
Like-
That's fair.
So let's just talk about YouTube briefly in going through that, right? I think this is a place where people are doing a ton with taking stuff from Meta, putting it on Shorts. What do you see that works, that drives incremental results for folks? And how do you think they should approach YouTube?
How much time do we have? YouTube is the most complex place to advertise and the hardest place to advertise in digital. And YouTube is like 6 or 7 different things, right? So like when we talk about YouTube, I mean, we're talking about so many different things. And so, I'll start with kind of the lowest of low hanging fruit, which is that YouTube Shorts thing. It's the demand gen conversion focused YouTube Shorts component where you can take your high performing 9:16 video assets from Meta, put them in a demand gen campaign, and run it purely on YouTube Shorts placement, and get kind of pretty good click based attribution out of it. You do have to do audience targeting. That's one of the things to remember. I always say like YouTube today is kind of like Meta in 2015, where you do the 1% lookalike audience, right? Like we're on this call all old enough to remember the old lookalike audience stacks and things like that. So you do have to do audience targeting there, but that's kind of like the lowest form of YouTube advertising.
Do you have any do you have any issues with the measurement on Shorts? Like, is it cool? Like, do you trust what YouTube is reporting on Shorts enough? Or like, I'm thinking of the brand that's not paying House. Well, I'm sure House is fantastic. I know they're fantastic, but like, just a quick sidebar on like measurement of Shorts. It sounds like it's low hanging fruit, but what about the measurement side?
So Shorts measurement is okay, but not amazing. And Google is it's always going to be undercounting the efficacy of Shorts. And I will say this very declaratively: if you don't have the ability to do holdout testing, do not spend $1 on YouTube outside of Shorts. Shorts is the only place you can spend money. Do not do in feed, do not do in stream, do not do CTV, do not do any of it. Like if you are not doing holdout testing, don't spend money on sort of traditional YouTube. Just only spend money on Shorts, because that's the place where you're going to get some click-based attribution and the rest of the YouTube inventory. And this is why YouTube inventory is so mispriced, right? Is like it is hard to measure. Like you do really need to be doing those holdout tests. So stay in Shorts and don't venture out of the shallow waters into the deep end of YouTube.
I mean, I think it's a matter. I think that's good about the measurement and making sure that you have a plan for measurement, and makes a ton of sense. To me, it's one of these things that you hear people talking about. They don't really know how to set it up, right? I think a lot of people spend a lot of time optimizing their Meta ads accounts. And I think YouTube is a place that takes a lot of energy and attention, and people just want to repurpose stuff, which you can do to a degree. But like, I guess I'm just curious of any other tips and tricks and tactics that you believe are really valuable.
The other big thing is audience, right? Audience still matters on YouTube, and Google's targeting on YouTube is the best and most granular targeting that exists today in digital. Like, you really can target your ICP, and Google's bidding algorithm is not at the level where you can just go broad and it will find your ICP, right? So, if you sell beauty products, like, an in-market audience for beauty products is a good audience to test on YouTube, right? Like, go narrow, go top 10% household income, women between the ages of 35 and 54 who have X, Y, and Z interests, right? Like, the kind of stuff that we used to do on Meta, like, still totally applicable on Google. You should definitely be doing that sort of targeting with YouTube, even on shorts, right? Um, and like, shorts is huge. Like, it's bigger than Reels. It's bigger than TikTok. 2 billion people use shorts a month. Like, shorts is colossal. So the inventory is there for essentially any advertiser to spend thousands of dollars a day on just shorts as a placement. But again, you gotta take what's old is new again. You gotta take the old rules of what you did on Meta, back in the day, and get granular with your audiences and take your winners, right? Like, I think short form video that performs well is short form video that performs well. Obviously, like, TikTok's kind of like the gold standard. Like, if it performs on TikTok, it'll perform everywhere else. Like, it performs on Meta, it might not necessarily perform on TikTok, but take your winners, drop them into a demand gen shorts campaign, have some granular audience targeting with different ad groups and doing granular audience targeting. And like, that's a super, super easy place to start. It will have like pretty good click attribution to it. And, you're not going to spend $20,000 a day on it, but two, three, four, $5,000 a day. I mean, it's not nothing.
I'm very curious about the role of landing pages across Google. I know from a shopping side, it would have to be handled differently because it needs to go to functionally a PDP. So I guess you could split it into two parts. Like, what are the role of landing pages from a search perspective? I'm assuming you have a lot more flexibility in what you can and can't do from a search side. But to your point earlier, maybe there's a little bit less volume overall in search. But then I'm just curious, like, have you seen like CRO specific tests to PDPs that have been impactful for Google traffic specifically? Like, obviously price and offer is maybe not where I'm going with this. But I'm just curious if you've come across any like CRO wins that have unlocked crazy scale, whether it is a shopping or search side.
Absolutely. Yeah. And landing page is huge. Landing pages are being important on Google, like, predates them being important on Meta. I mean, it's historically been very important because landing page quality score is one of the components of quality score, and quality score impacts your CPCs. And so a better, higher converting landing page will increase your quality score, which means it helps your ad rank, which means your CPCs are going to be lower. So it's always been a key component to it. And you can run shopping to landing pages, and especially if you are in, maybe something that does not have a lot of SKUs. If you're in kind of like you're a supplement with like a massive hero product, you probably don't want to be sending that to a PDP. You do want to be sending that to a landing page that is specifically structured for that traffic, because again, we get back to the how can we maximize the inventory that we can target profitably, right? Like, that's going to impact your revenue per session, right? And that means you can adjust your targets and you're going to be able to get a greater click share, right? Like I would love to have a 90% click share for search terms that are good for me, right? Because that's what's going to increase my volume. So landing pages are massively critical to search, but also to shopping. And I'm not saying create a custom landing page for every single product that you have, but if it gets a lot of volume and you look and you see, okay, my click share is relatively low, it's like, okay, well, how am I increasing that? How am I increasing the click share for this specific product? Like, let's make a landing page for it, because now our revenue per session goes up, which means we can, adjust our bids, which means the percentage of the inventory that we can get and get profitably is going to go up. So landing pages massively critical. It's the key to unlocking additional non-brand search as well, because people are looking for specific things, and your products might have 20 different angles for what it does, right? Like a magnesium supplement, like it's great for sleep, but it's also like good for focus and all these other things. And if you're sending all of those queries to your PDP, that's terrible, right? It's like best supplement for sleep. All right, well, there you go. Now we're hitting our sleep queries, right? Supplement for focus. Now we're hitting something completely different. And so, and this is, I think, the biggest challenge with Google is that outside of YouTube, there's not one big unlock. You're not going to find a killer creative and scale your budgets 10x. Like, that's not how it works. It is brick by brick, incremental layering of a few percentage points of efficiency here, unlocking a new class of keywords that's going to add another, $3, $5, $10,000 of ad spend a month that's running efficiently, right? You're layering on these bricks and building it one piece at a time. There's no, hey, we found an absolute banger, like let's rip it to the moon. Like that's just not how it works. And I think that lends itself to a specific type of person who is very in the weeds, who is going to do all of this work. And also why I think most people who deal with Google, or most brands are like, oh, Google doesn't work, or, it's because they're not willing to pay people who can actually do this to build it and build it over time, because it does layer over time. It is not, we took it from 10,000 a month to 400,000 a month in, 2 months with one banger ad. It's layered over time.
I think we have a new podcast called Skill Issue that can come out of this to bring this full circle, where we just we'll just pull up ad accounts, and Colin, you can just publicly shit on everybody's Google account.
It's so hard. There are not that many Google people in the world who are good at it. It is, and I've seen this with clients who have been wanting to fire us for a very long time, not because we're not doing a great job, but just because we're expensive. And they're like, you're too expensive. We don't want to pay you. We're gonna in-house this. And I'm like, okay, good luck. There are just not that many people who are legitimately good at Google, because the number of years it takes to be really good at Google is a lot. And the attention to detail is massive. And the number of individual settings that, if done incorrectly, will completely invalidate everything else that you did is incredibly high, right? Like, you can do all of the things that I've said so far through here completely correctly, but if you have your conversions set up incorrectly, which is very common, right? Like, let's say you have 2 different primary conversions, it's going to be completely non-incremental. It's going to generate 0 revenue and it's going to look great. But, it's so easy to have page view plus purchase as primary conversions, and they're the account defaults. And so they're there in that campaign, and you're telling Google, I value page views and I value purchases. And so obviously one is much easier to get than the other. And so Google's going to just be like generating traffic that's firing page views. and it's going to be racking up like efficiency in there, but you're not going to be seeing it on your bottom line. And it's because that one single setting was done incorrectly, and now it's all worthless, right? And there's dozens of those throughout the account. And you need someone who can be completely on top of that, knows where they are, and isn't going to make a mistake, right? And there's just it's hard work, and there's not a lot of people who have that depth of knowledge to do it in the platform. And then you add on YouTube, which is a totally different platform within the platform, and it's like, okay.
It's definitely a lot. Well, you've given us lots to think about, Collin. A lot of absolute sauce for folks. So appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on, and appreciate you being here.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun, and happy to come on and jam anytime.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. This episode is brought to you by Brad's company, Work Marketing. If you need a D2C marketing agency, let me tell you, Homestead is great, but Work Marketing is also fantastic. And let me tell you, you aren't going to find friendlier people out there in the e-commerce space. So we decided to do these little ads for each other's companies. So hopefully you find it interesting. But seriously, great team at Work Marketing. Very smart. Brad and Jordan are incredibly dialed in. I just gave them a lead, already made this brand that I gave them, like, I don't even know, double the revenue that they had the previous month or something. So, it's very exciting to be connected with Brad. And if you need a great agency, there's really no one better. Zach, anything to comment on Work Marketing?
Yeah, I mean, if you want an agency that cares about your business much more than they care about their own website, I just tried to load workmarketing.com and it was broken. So they're definitely going to give more of a shit about your business than their own. So I highly recommend Brad and the team over at Work. They've been incredible. We've referred a lot of business over to them as well. Really, really good as far as like cracking funnels and figuring out like rapid growth for brands. So highly recommend these guys.
The only way that we grow this podcast is by you sharing it with your friends. Honestly, like, reviews kind of don't really mean anything too much anymore. They're really meaningful, but they don't do a lot for the growth of the podcast. And so sharing YouTube links, sharing Spotify links, sharing Apple, whatever we call it under the podcast app now, anything you can share, the better we're going to be. Guys, anything else you want to say on this?
Yeah, please go check us out on YouTube. Rack up those views for us. We'd love to see it. And then subscribe. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube as well.
And I relentlessly refresh the YouTube comments because it dictates my mental health for the day. So please say something nice about all of us.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for listening, honestly.